The honourable member for Parkdale-High Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for his very thoughtful comments on this bill. And I want to ask him about mandatory minimum sentences that are, of course, once again provided for in this Conservative bill, which in a way undermine the goal of the bill, which is to ensure that there is adequate and serious penalties for people who harm service animals. But there was a recent documentary called State of Incarceration that aired on CBC Doc Zone that was produced by a constituent of mine, and it really very graphically showed how mandatory minimum sentences and other kinds of supposedly tough on crime legislation in fact undermine the criminal justice system. They lead to overcrowding in our prisons. They lead to less support and assistance for criminals, people who are incarcerated, to rehabilitate and therefore get back into the community and ultimately become contributing productive members of society. And my colleague may not have seen this, but can he comment on the intent of this video, which was to really shine a light on this undermining of effective criminal justice systems, and how even in the U.S., which pioneered this tough on crime agenda, they're turning back and going for rehabilitation as a more cost-effective measure to treat serious crime.
No, member for Chambly-Borduas. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. Unfortunately, I didn't see the documentary, but I found out about it from her, and I would be interested in seeing it. But to come back to her question and the whole issue of mandatory minimums, what we increasingly see is that mandatory minimums are not the solution. Rehabilitation is more important. The problem with the government's approach to this whole debate is that when they hear the words prevention and rehabilitation, they think what we're saying is that we're soft on criminals, that we want to be their friends. But prevention and rehabilitation are in fact what's good for the community. That's what protects people and protects us against reoffenders. That's why we rehabilitate people, and that's why we work on prevention. It's to try to avoid crime and repeated crime. Yes, we're responsible as lawmakers to make adjustments when necessary, but all too often this government seems to want to take this as their systematic approach whenever there's something they don't like. And that's not the responsible way to do our jobs. And the same thing goes for this animal cruelty. Of course, we support the bill, but not that response.